Aloha, aloha, aloha to the warriors out there. Road to 45, day 13, and this specific date, 6/26/2006, is a specific date that's going to hold dear to my heart. Today, 3 years ago today, um, one of my bestest of friends received the worst news anyone could receive. And as a result of going for a checkup, and that led to a biopsy, that led to being told you have cancer, um, took a toll on us. And so we're coming 3 years out of it, and let's dig into what it's like to deal with that and what it takes to create a support system. So let's go. Uh, 3 years ago today, we, you know, like any place and any time, like we're just doing what you got to do to get by. Um, and my best friend uh had a normal, like had to go to doctor routine. And then in the doctor's routine there was, oh, okay, we see a mass, let's take a biopsy. And then the day of her biopsy, like her biopsy was today, 3 years ago, and within hours of her biopsy the phone call comes, and it's like that word, that c word, it's cancer. um and it's breast cancer. And you nobody prepares you to hear that. Okay. But I was there. I was physically present when the news came. And so I remember like just hugging her and being like, okay, what's next? Right. But in the moment in my head, I was saying, what's next? But yet in my body was saying, just be there. Just be there. And so that's what I did. Um, but cancer is crazy, right? So all of that is happening, and they give you a list of names of surgeons and doctors, and so we went through the list. And when I say we, I mean there's a collective of us, right? It's not just me, her having this conversation. It's her siblings, her parents, right? And we're having to support her, or finding a way to support her, trying to figure out how the best way to support this news. And so we collectively are like, okay, we take one day at a time, but at the same time, like being proactive about the news. And then, so there's a set of names that was given about surgeons that could do the surgery for breast cancer. And it's interesting that we never got any oncologist references, but just, I think because it was early enough and detected early enough that it was better to just find a surgeon, a cancer surgeon that could do the job. So went through all of that, and long story short, she chose somebody, and so we went to talk to that surgeon, met with that surgeon, and all of that. And and you have, I'm coming out of 3 years now. When you have, um, and this is just my personal take, when you have cancer in the breast, um, most times they just say, "Yeah, we can take it out," or "What do you want to do?" Or, um, and it was smart of her to just go, "Do I check the other side?" And then that option came. It was like, do you want to check the other side? And the decision was like, I should, right? Because if they're gonna operate, I don't want to have to do it again if it does metastasize over. So the decision she made to do a double mastectomy was purely made for her, um, to come to terms with the fact that if one's gonna go, um, let's just do both, so that the process of having to go to surgery again, potentially in the future, is not needed, at least, you know. Um, so a double mastectomy it was. And man, watching somebody go through this physical change is, um, it takes a toll on you mentally. It takes a toll on you mentally, but it also teaches you to be humble, teaches you to find strength when you didn't think you had it. Um, so I wanted to be as strong as I could for her. I wanted to be as strong as I possibly could, knowing that there's going to be times where I'm not going to understand something and I'm going to potentially get frustrated because I don't have enough understanding or enough clarity. Um, so I did what I thought was best was in order for me to be strong for her in all of this, I needed to have a foundation for me because having my own solid foundation was going to allow me to be a solid supporter as we're learning how to navigate this process. And so I did what I thought was best, and I got a hold of a few handful of friends, and I created a text string, and I said, "Hey, look, um, this is the news, and I'm gonna need some help. And is it okay if I lean on you?" And I asked permission, and every one of them said, "Absolutely. Whatever you think you need, whatever you think she needs, whatever you think the family needs, let us know and we'll do our best." And each and every one of them responded in their own little way, which is, connected to their personality. Um, but I got a lot of support. And a lot of times that support, that uh, notion and that verbal like confirmation that you seek sometimes, that was enough for me. It was enough for me to have a text back and say like, "Hey sis, thinking of you, hope everything's okay, let us know when the surgery dates are," simple things that was check-ins. And for me, that's what was the best part of creating a foundation for me to step back on, because I knew when I took a step back, my step was going to be heavy, because all of the things that I didn't want my best friend to deal with alone and her family, I wanted to be able to take that on, but I also knew like I couldn't just hold on to it myself. And so stepping back into the support of my friends, and family, um, as long as I knew I could put all my weight there, I was good. I could continue to be as strong of a support as I could be. And I'm not saying that I was strong all the time, because I wasn't. There are times when I was just going, how? How does somebody so brave make a decision so vulnerable to let go of both breasts because there's something eating it, or there's something that's in it that's potentially there to eventually kill you? So sometimes I was like, how do you get so brave? How do you stay brave? And then there are times where I would be like, why? Why is this happening? Like, what did she do, or what did we do? I'm not gonna tell you straight up. I'm not gonna get an answer. I'm not gonna get an answer. Um, but the fact that you can question it without feeling like you're going to crash out made a big difference, because then I could come around from it and be like, okay, what else you need? Surgery happens, or we got our surgery dates. Surgery happens, and that was the scariest day, one of the scariest days of my life. Um, because there is a risk. Everything, there's a risk. And we were told, like, surgery's gonna take so many hours. I'm gonna try to do this, and we were told exactly what was gonna be done, and exactly what the recovery could be on the most average level, right? And on the most extreme and the most dire, they also told us that. So we were prepared mentally. Day comes, and um, I text everybody on my string, and I say, "Hey, like today's the day. If you get some random text, it's me, just trying to figure out this whole process." And this good thing was, I got text messages that like everybody was different, and there's like, whatever you need, let us know. If you need to walk out of the building and just go somewhere and scream, like, just do it. We don't care if you look weird. Or it was like, are you hungry? Do you need food? I can bring you food. Um, and then there was, the other ones that were like, hey, if she's in recovery, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. And so there was all these things that came, and I still have those messages. I still freaking have those messages, and I often go back to it because it reminds me, like, no matter how shitty my day could be today, it was shittier the day there was the surgery, and that feeling was uncomfortable. And so, count your blessings because today is a lot better than that day. And so I keep those messages, and I often go back to it um, to refocus myself sometimes. And that was a great text of support. Was, if she's in recovery, it's a good sign, and it is. It's a damn good sign. But creating that support system was so important for me because um, I needed to be able to trust me in going. I can't control it. I can't control how I'm going to feel. I can't control how the results might be. I can't control anything but how I show up. And so how I showed up was detrimental to, like, it was my foundation underneath me was detrimental to how I showed up in this process. So my biggest advice I'm gonna give anybody that's trying to figure out this road and this path, if you're a parent or you're a spouse or you're a child of somebody who's battling a sickness and illness such as cancer, um, my biggest advice is, as a support to the person who's going through it, create your own support system. Create a nucleus of people or entities that you need to lean on because you're gonna need it. You're gonna need it. Um, there's no pamphlet. There's no itinerary. There's nothing. There's nothing out there that really focuses on how to heal the person that's supporting the sick person. How to support the person supporting the sick person. There's nothing that you can really find out there. So you got to create it. And you know what is freaking cool? We come from ancestors that have survived these things so well because they never did it alone. And sometimes I always think, like, what gave me the foresight to just call a bunch of friends or text a bunch of friends and be like, hey, I'm gonna need support. Can I put you guys all together on this string of texts in case I need it? I go back and look at how awesome did I come from ancestors that when it came to death, dying, or grief, or even suffering emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, they did it collectively. They didn't do it by themselves. They did it communally. They did it together as a community. When something was happening, there was grief happening in the community. They did it and dealt with it together. And so I questioned, like, how did I get there? And then I give the glory to my ancestors, and I came and I got to that point because it was embedded in me through my DNA, through my genetics, to my cultural connection to place and space, to my aina. You know, I had to create an aina behind me, below me, to be to support me, to support somebody going through all of this. And my biggest praise is because my ancestors survived. I could, because they had things in place that allowed us to deal with this kind of change collectively. We could find a way to do it, and I could find a way to get around people that could support me to be the best supporter I could be for her. Um, and so, my biggest advice to anybody out there, when you're having to watch your family member, your loved one, have to suffer through all of this, create a support system. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be flashy. It just has to be a few people that you trust with your most vulnerable self, and have them aware that you're going to need the support. Because the biggest thing that helped was I gave them the opportunity to walk away if they needed to. if this is too much for them. I gave them enough advance notice to say, I'm gonna need you when the time comes. Are you okay to be there? And if not, it's okay. If not, it's okay. But giving them the opportunity to know ahead of time allowed them to show up the way they had to show up, the way they did show up. And so, again, my biggest advice is when you're going through this, find a support system and be thankful for the fact that you can that you can find a support system, because even though we're 3 years out of the day we found out about the cancer in the breast, um, every day is a battle. Every day is a success if we wake up the next day. And all we have to do is count our blessings, be thankful, have the grace and the gratitude to be okay. Yes, we dealt with this. Yes, it was scary. Yes, there was a bunch of things we didn't know how to deal with and we had to figure it out. But it made us stronger. It made us better servants to our community because we could. Um, and it taught us that life is fragile and it's okay. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be worried. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be angry when it comes to these things. Um, but we come from ancestors that didn't do it alone. And so to think that you got to walk this walk by yourself, it's absurd because it's genetically impossible to do this alone. So again, my biggest advice is for those of you guys who are trying to find a way to support somebody who is going through this battle, build a foundation of support for yourself so that you can show up and be the best of you when you show up for that person that you can. It won't always be roses. More often than not, it'll be painful. And so that support system and their honesty is really what you need. It's really what gets you through. To all the survivors out there, um, my aloha to all of you. To those who watch your loved ones through that battle, my aloha goes out to you. To those who have lost a loved one to their battle, my aloha goes out to you. We do this collectively because it's the way our ancestors did it, because nobody should go through something like this alone. Um, so don't be afraid to be okay with saying, I need help. Because you'd be surprised who who hears that call and shows up. That's all for today. Uh, you guys always keep aloha in your heart, because when you have aloha in your heart, you have more aloha to share with the world. And I truly and honestly believe aloha will save the world one person at a time. So if you can, share your aloha as often as you can, and never forget to take it with you wherever you go. Coming from me, from the bottom of my heart, to all the survivors out there, to all those who lost their battles, aloha nui, aloha nui, aloha nui. Ahui ho, aloha.